Welcome to another Tackle Obesity show featuring Coach Richard Walker, our host, members of the NFL alumni, lifestyle weight loss experts, and key social media influencers that are making a difference. Now, Coach Richard Walker.
Hey, listen up. This is Coach Walker. Welcome to another episode of Tackle Obesity. We have a very special show for you again today. But before we begin, I want to talk about organizing your team. One of the things that, all of you guys know, if you're football fans, one of the things that's been exciting this week has been the start of the free agency period. And I like to correlate life to football. So as we go through this free agency period, you see all these wonderful players, these superstar players getting signed by new teams. You see guys getting cut, even a few trades here or there. Think about that free agency mindset as it pertains to your wellness goals. Because all free agency is a retooling of an organization to fit its culture in pursuit of a goal. All of the teams that are making moves, with the exception of one, which is the Kansas City Chiefs, they all failed at their mission of winning the Super Bowl last year. And even the Chiefs, even though they won the Super Bowl, they're retooling themselves so that they can pursue another one. So if we apply that mindset towards our wellness, what are the things that we're going to change in order to pursue our wellness? Who are the free agents that you're going to sign as a part of your wellness roster? What moves are you going to make? What trades are you going to make? What things are you going to add to your team to help you win this year in your wellness journey? I'm going to share a couple of mine with you. First of all, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a miracle. It's called Miracle Noodles, and it is a 5-calorie. Because I am a diehard. I'm a noodle lover. I'm a rice lover. I've always been the kind of person that I like to consume rice and noodles. That's part of the reason why I was 420 plus pounds, is that I was consuming all those complex carbs. I can't change my identity. That's who I am. That's my flavor palette. I've grown up being fed rice, pasta, and noodles and things like that throughout my life. And ultimately, at some point, you're going to trend back towards your identity. And the same thing is true with these teams. You think about, for example, the Baltimore Ravens. They're a defensive-minded team. The Kansas City Chiefs, up-tempo offense, etc. You are who you are, but you find what works within your system that doesn't do the damage. So incorporating my new free agent, the Miracle Noodles, which allows me to eat what I like, and it's 5 calories per serving instead of hundreds and hundreds of calories per serving, not to mention the carb count on this 3 grams per serving versus God knows how many calories per serving in your regular rice, pasta, and noodles. So this is just one example. So as you go throughout this week, go into this with a mindset of how are you going to handle free agency? What are the moves that you're going to make along your wellness journey as you continue to pursue your super goal. So that being said, I do want to bring on my teammate, because we don't do guests around here, we do teammates. And this is the ultimate teammate. This is the man who got me started on this journey. I had the opportunity to meet Russ when I was covering the Super Bowl in Los Angeles. Where we're going to go, very deep into that story. Russell Allen is the volunteer director for the NFL Alumni Tackle Obesity program, and he's joining us right now. Russ, how are you doing today?
Richard, I'm doing great, and that was a wonderful kind of preamble there. What great insights! It's inspiring what you had to say. So thank you for having me on as your guest, and can't wait to get into all the stuff we know and can share.
Okay, and like I said before, guest is a dirty word around here. We use teammates. You're only a guest once. Teammate. You're a teammate for life. So Don't ever use that word around me again. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of share with everyone, because you and I have such a unique relationship. So I want to go back to that moment where you and I met at the convention center in Los Angeles. At the time, I'm well over 400. I don't even know how much I weighed. When I finally started losing weight and I went to the doctor, I weighed in at 425 pounds. I was bigger than that before that when you and I met. So let's talk about that experience. What do you recall from our first meeting?
Well, first of all, to give the audience kind of an understanding, the Super Bowl has what they call Radio Row or Media Row. And what they do is they take a huge convention room and they fill it with literally 150 to 200 media outlets, each of which have something as simple as a table and a mic to where they have elaborate booths and extensive, like Fox and Sirius and so on. So in the middle of all that, they have a green room where members of the media can go up and get something to eat and relax and kind of kick back, because it's intense being in that room, just being in the room, let alone the constant interaction that you experience. So anyway, I'm up there chilling and trying to get my where do I go next thing going. And, Richard sits near me and I just chat him up a bit and I tell him what I'm doing. And, he says, I'm getting married. I think I could do what you're talking about. And I'm looking at Richard, hands full of chips and all this stuff in front of him. And I'm going, right. And he stands up and Richard's 6'6" and I'm on a good day 5'6". And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, right. So anyway, he got back in touch with me and said, I'm serious. I'm going to do it. So I coached him. We got him set up with a meal replacement program. And the rest is history. We've become very close friends as well as business partners. And Richard lost on a meal replacement program over 90 pounds within about 6 months. And, you did it in many ways by just getting rid of the terrible habits that he had. And Richard, you can elaborate on those.
It was just a matter of, as I mentioned in the preamble, making free agent acquisitions. And one of the things that I learned through this journey, and I want to share with all of you guys, is that there are alternate ways to live without having to make, huge sacrifices. As I mentioned before, I'm a pasta guy, I'm a rice guy, I'm a sweet guy. So these are things that I had to find a way to substitute. So the players that I had working for me on my roster prior to this wellness journey simply weren't getting the job done, or they were getting the job done as far as an obesity perspective, but they were not good for me. So I had to cut those players. I had to get rid of them. And I replaced them with things such as monk fruit sweetener, and non-processed substitutes. So you have to do some homework. You have to do some research. The information is out there. And once you make these substitutes and it becomes a part of your routine, then you see the sustainable results. And that's what allowed me to stick to the plan. Because to be honest, everyone has tried and failed so many times because they try to put themselves in a box. And they say, I'm only going to eat salad and chicken for 3 months. And some people may be able to do that. But the first time you get a slice of pizza or a candy bar or something else, you're going to deviate back to who you were before. So you have to, instead of changing the playbook, you change the personnel. That's the mindset that you have to adapt towards this wellness state.
Just to add to that, the Wall Street Journal today ran an article about the addictive nature of ultra-processed foods, and that it is literally to your body as if you were taking a drug. And it stimulates the brain in a very similar fashion to drugs, which create an addictive response because it releases endorphins and dopamine, and that feels so good. And, remember Lay's potato chips? They used to go, bet you can't eat just one. Well, yes, they don't do that anymore because they know that's
they know you can't just eat one.
Yeah, and they know they're selling you addictive foods. So unfortunately, as Americans, our diet now has gone across the world, and everywhere they adopt the Western diet, people get fat, people gain weight, people lose control. I don't care if it's Asia, India, Africa, it doesn't matter. if you start incorporating these ultra processed foods in your diet, you're going to gain weight and you're going to lose control because you have this addictive response to those foods. Richard, how much soda did you used to drink a week?
I used to drink 3 12-packs per week. So every Sunday, like clockwork, 9 a.m. or so, I get up in the morning, I go to the grocery store, and I purchase 3 12-packs. One for the office, one for the house, one for the car. Now, if that's not addict type behavior, I don't know what is. Like, I had to have soda in my vehicle. I purchased a portable cooler that worked with my cigarette lighter so I can keep my beverages cold while I'm driving. That's addict-like behavior.
Yeah. That is. It's a great example though of, and again, just switching to diet soda doesn't resolve it because there's an addictive nature to diet soda as well, unfortunately. So there is, as you say, some learning and some habitual behaviors that you have to change or nothing changes. So that's why we stress lifestyle weight loss, because it's really, that's what it's about. You have to begin to change your lifestyle, and then you have to inherit these things that you learn in that changing process to begin to. So listen, why don't we bring up my before and afters? Because I got some great befores.
Yes.
So this is me in front of, the building is behind me.
Big Ben in front of Big Ben.
Buckingham Palace. There you go. But this is the closer. How about the one in Death Valley? Yeah. There I am with my wife in Death Valley. And unfortunately, she was 70 pounds heavier and I was 50 pounds heavier than I am today. And, I went through a process where I really tackled my obesity using a meal replacement program, which was really about 100 calorie meal supplements, and then what they call a lean and green, which is 5 to 7 ounces of lean protein, a couple of cups of vegetables, and a lot of water. The single most important ingredient in a healthy lifestyle, and one that helps you retain your weight goals.
Right.
Because that's the key. What I've having gone through the process to lose the weight, I've really focused on is how far can I cheat and still not gain weight? And what are the hacks I can use to not gain the weight back? So now I'm about 3 years into this, and hydration is my biggest ally. And I'm right now trying to train myself to just drink water. I used to do and I still do a little bit of ocean spray, they're 5 calorie, because it's really good, but it's really processed food.
Right.
And I've got a Berkey water filter, which is great. You just put the water in, it goes through these limestone filters. You get incredibly good water, and you never buy a plastic bottle again. And so now I'm trying to get it to, I just drink water. And that's a different, it's a different step, to where you can just enjoy the water and do it. So now that's my latest thing. My wife, Kay, joined me on the journey after she had actually retired and found out through her doctor that she had a brain tumor. So once that was removed, unfortunately, it was not cancerous. She looked into the mirror and she went, I'm obese. And this woman just took it on, did the same basic program, and lost 70 pounds on that program, and has pretty much kept it all off, which is, you always get a little bounce. Once you hit your low point, typically you're going to bounce 4 to 5 pounds, which is acceptable. But what I do is I weigh myself at least every other day, because you're going to cheat. Those things you like, right? So then, but where you really lose is if you don't keep yourself accountable at least every other day. Right. And during my weight loss, I actually weighed myself every day, and not everybody says to do that. But for me, it was a way to hold myself accountable every day. And also it was like, man, I'm holding on, I'm not eating, and I'm doing this thing. And whether you're doing intermittent fasting or you're doing this kind of meal replacement program, you will find that you're looking at that clock. When is my next opportunity to eat? And what am I going to enjoy? And, because again, the thing about food is it is a drug. Even good food creates an endorphin response. Now, ultra processed foods create an addictive response. So, and feeling full, so one of the best things about hydration is you can feel full. So let's bring up, I didn't send it. Okay. Next time we'll bring on Kay's, maybe we can bring on Kay. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. And Minnie. And so Richard and I met, just to circle back at the Super Bowl, and, he began to track and work. And then I got to know him and his background and his abilities, I began to explore how to work together. Now we own our own business together, and we've really, about 6 months ago, Richard called me and said, Russ, I'm ready to get married. I proposed to my wife. She's accepted. And so we're putting together the wedding, and I'd like to invite you as a groomsman on my wedding. So maybe we can throw up those pictures, because it was a lot of fun. Here's me giving a high five to Richard. And it was a golden moment. And we really have, really bonded together, and really, it's such a thrill to wake up every day to help other people.
Right. That's one of the things that really helped propel me forward. And when I reached a point where I got, towards the halfway point of, achieving the initial goal, because you don't ever want to say achieving the goal, because you should always have something else to pursue.
For sure.
One of my favorite Tom Brady quotes is, they asked him what was his favorite Super Bowl championship. He said the next one. You should always have a goal to propel you forward. So, but as I got halfway through, I was like, this is so great. Like, it would be so selfish of me to keep this to myself. So and I noticed some people that I ignored, but I started telling everybody that would listen, hey, guys, you got to do this. You got to do this. And it became a passion. And what developed from that is, I always say I have one of the biggest mouths in the Western Hemisphere. And it comes from being that locker room guy. It comes from being in the huddle. It comes from being on the field and, on bus tours with teammates. I've always been one of the guys that's been the voice, and that transferred with me when I went into media. And so I'm able to use the gift that I have with a platform to share this information. So this is one of the things that drives me, is that I know that I'm not just doing this for me, I'm helping others. I literally get people that reach out to me that says, man, I've been following you, or they call and ask a question. I have, some great friends that, were inspired by me, and I didn't even ask them or approach them. One of them, and I'm able to speak his name, Patrick Creighton, my good friend. He's the host of Late Hits on ESPN 97.5 here in Houston. Patrick saw my journey, and he saw when I got to the 70, 80, 90 pound bar, he was like, dude, you are just so inspiring. He's like, I just want you to know, I started my own journey, and he lost 60 pounds because he was inspired by me. And he was able to drop his diabetes meds, and he got his A1C right, and he was able to get all blood pressure medicine. So that's the kind of stuff that fires me up, is, hearing these wonderful testimonies from people that you never know who you're going to touch. So one of the things that will help keep you going is to share your story with others, share information with others, ask people, ask questions, and most importantly, have an accountability partner. Having a coach or someone,
if you don't,
line is critical.
You can lie to yourself for years.
Right.
It's really true. I feel like Andy Reid here. I got a coaching tree going.
Right.
That's really good.
The reason that, a lot of people fail is that they think they can do it themselves, or, in some cases, especially men, we're hard-headed and we don't like to reach out for assistance because we've been conditioned that we got the warrior mindset. We can do this all alone. No one has ever accomplished anything great by themselves. Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, you name it, they had a coach. They had someone that developed them along the way, someone that coached them, someone that kicked them in the rear end on those days where they didn't want to do things, someone that pointed out their flaws. Michael Jordan had a 60-something point game, and Phil Jackson, after the game told him, "Oh yeah, that was nice." It's an ego stroke. Yeah, you had a 60-something point game, but you could have had a 70-point game had you made a couple of free throws that you missed. So the same type of mindset goes towards your wellness. You got to have someone that's that voice in your ear to keep you going. And this is what keeps you on track. And when you also provide that to others, it keeps the fuel going in you. So this is just feedback that we're sharing with everyone.
Well, positive feedback where you are making results. The thing about when you begin to get control of your weight is people do reach, they just speak up and say, "Boy, you look good," and that's reinforcing. But the real question is, do I feel good, and is my body making the changes that I need to protect my wellness?
Right.
Because one of our guys that I worked with is Otis Anderson, and in his first challenge, which was back in 2014, we sat down with the doctor, and she pointed out a major piece of his pancreas no longer worked because of his lifestyle, because of his weight. And Otis is now, we've gotten very close, and he's really. I went out to breakfast with him after we met with the commissioner of health, and we just got. By the way, I don't know, Kathleen, if you've got that photo, you can bring it up. But if you can find that, and just break in when you can. Otis and I met with the New York City Commissioner of Health, and we were issued by Mayor Adams and delivered by the commissioner the proclamation declaring March to be Tackle Obesity Month in New York City, and that is so gratifying. I mean, just incredibly gratifying. And we're going to take it from there. Richard's working on different cities with me, and we're going to expand this out. And hopefully, within the city of New York, I'll be able to reach a greater audience as well. And fortunately, we were able to get some TV coverage on it, and we're going to expand this whole notion of Tackle Obesity Month, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's March or April or May or June, it still applies. You need to learn how to tackle obesity. And it's obesity, when this started, it actually started before I was involved. One of our guys, John Carlucci, had brought Novo Nordisk to the NFL alumni. And this is 4.5 years ago. And the program started out, Huddle Up, Let's Talk Obesity. And that was John's really idea behind it. And back then, using the O word was kind of a dicey thing, because are people going to get offended or whatever, and nobody wanted to consider themselves obese. I remember the doctor who looked at my chart and went, "Oh, well, you're obese," and I went, "What?" And it was like he could have, it was like cold water on my face or on my whole body. So anyway, we got to the point where got a lot of our NFL alumni members who had responded to a survey. 60% plus of our NFL alumni were dealing with obesity at different stages. And that shortens your life. It increases the possibility of heart disease. You're almost guaranteed to get type 2 diabetes, which quadruples your heart disease risk. So it's one of those things that you got to be aware of. So I got involved because one of our leaders, Bart Oates, called me and said, "Russ, you ran this wellness challenge before. Can you come do it now for the NFL alumni?" Absolutely, Bart. So we did it. And in our first year, we had 18 guys, and 15 of them lost 35 plus pounds. So that was a big hit. And the alumni really got behind it. And our sponsor, Novo, got behind it. And then we've expanded it. So every year it got more and more kind of inclusive and farther reaching. So this honor by the mayor of New York and by the health commissioner of New York of proclaiming the Tackle Obesity Month is really astounding and one opportunity for us. Now, in that first year, when we did an email to NFL alumni members, one of our members, Dick Butkus, who is all everything, and when it comes to football, legendary. You run out of superlatives for Dick, but anyway, he said, I want to do it. And so I actually went out to California and met with him at his home. And I set up Dick and what to do, trained him how to do it, and pretty much got out of the way, because he then went on and at 79 years old, lost 47 pounds. And it was amazing. And he kept it off, unfortunately, until he passed just this last year. And, but Dick really set an example for people, and he inspired so many people. And he really benefited from it himself. And so, this program, which is now called Tackle Obesity. So it went from let's talk about it, to let's get our guys well, to now let's inspire the world to tackle obesity themselves and empower people to do it. So we're partnering with a lot of different folks to reach out and communicate and train and inspire people, and then support them in their journey, which is really cool. Yeah, here we are with New York City. Somebody took my hair. Oh, this is Otis Anderson and Commissioner Vassan, Dr. Vassan, here in New York City, which was just on March 4th, World Obesity Day. And now we're going to really communicate obesity is a medical condition, not a character flaw. Richard, that's something people, when they're fighting obesity, it's you do tend to point at yourself and think, because you have to hold yourself accountable. Question is, how do you do it in such a way that you put the problem over here, and then just like a coach, okay, who do I put in to beat that? And,
right.
And I love the way you're able to create these analogies of life and what we're doing around football, because it really makes it easy, and it kind of takes the pressure off, and so very happy about that.
Absolutely. Well, we are very happy to have all of you join us. We're going to take a real quick commercial break. We're going to continue this conversation because there's a lot that we have to talk about. You tune into the Tackle Obesity Show. This is Richard Walker. I am here with my teammate, the great Russ Allen. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
2-minute drill.
The temptation is real. The temptation, sometimes it wins, and it's okay, because we came to understanding that, like, if we eat an Oreo or whatever food that we eat, that's not gonna really set you back anything. It's not gonna kill your diet. It's not gonna kill, the progress that you made. So it's all in moderation. You can incorporate all those foods that you enjoy while you're still living that healthy lifestyle.
Remember, obesity is a medical condition, not a character flaw. To learn more about the NFL alumni's ongoing commitment to our community and kids, go to tackleobesity.com. Cheerleader performance.
Don't allow people to box you. Don't allow people to put you and tell you your journey has to look a certain way. No, they're comparing you to that old virgin. That old virgin is dead. We walked out of the coffin. We closed that coffin, right? So now that level of measurement is based off of your right now. What do you need to see right now? How do your right now look? And now let's make a game plan to obtain that next virgin, but I will not be boxed.
Remember, obesity is a medical condition, not a character flaw. To learn more about the NFL alumni's ongoing commitment to our community and kids, go to tackleobesity.com. Locker room.
Like I said, people lose hope. So having these diseases doesn't mean it's the end of the world. And the body is a magical machine. If you train it, and if you fuel it correctly and you treat it right, and this is not just physically, spiritually, mentally, the body can heal itself, right? So a lot of people don't understand that. And so the body is a magical thing.
Remember, obesity is a medical condition, not a character flaw. To learn more about the NFL alumni's ongoing commitment to our community and kids, go to tackleobesity.com. Coach's Corner.
Having a coach is actually is a great thing, to be honest with you, in my mind, because a coach is going to always hold you accountable. A coach ain't going to be your friend. A coach is going to tell you the truth no matter what happens, and he's going to he or she are going to motivate you.
And you want to find you a coach that has already accomplished what you want to accomplish. So they're able to see things that you're not able to see. You get you a coach that have already walked the path, so your path can be easy. So get you someone that can speak life into you, someone that can guide you, someone that has a system that's going to work for you.
Remember, obesity is a medical condition, not a character flaw. To learn more about the NFL alumni's ongoing commitment to our community and kids, go to tackleobesity.com.
And we are back on Tackle Obesity. And again, I want to say it one more time. Obesity is a medical condition. It is not a character flaw. It's important that everyone really, really, really understands that. And it's something that I had to learn to understand as well as I went through my journey. Because I thought that, and I'm no different than anyone else. The common misconception about obesity is that it's a lazy person's disease. But I had to take a step back and think, if it's a lazy person's disease, why does it impact so many athletes? Because when you think about athletes, that's the exact opposite of lazy. You guys have any idea what type of a commitment it takes to be a professional athlete at any level? We're talking years upon years upon years with hours of constant workouts, recovery, strategy. Lazy and athlete goes together like oil and water. It does that. That's definitely not what you're describing. Even the guys on the practice squad, the guys like myself, who never even had a cup of coffee on the field. In the NFL, you even get looked at by an NFL team. So to me, that's the one thing that, in my opinion, totally kills the misconception of obesity being a lazy man's disease. And so I want to kind of start off by digging into that, Russ, and I want to talk about what are some of the facts versus fads as it pertains to obesity.
Well, we have a whole video we call the 7 habits that tackle obesity. And those, at the end of the day, it comes down to habitual behavior. And when what you do again and again and again is going to be resulting in what you put in your bank, your wellness bank. So if you're doing things like drinking 12 packs of 12 ounces of soda a week on top of your pizza and everything else you're doing, that is habitual behavior. It's what you put in the bank. And that, guess what? That's what causes the body then to respond to that. Flip side, if you hydrate properly, you get the activity you need, you get, you take very careful food choices. All of that, again, is money in the bank. Key is how do I do it again and not lose my stride and that's where, learning about things like hydration. The thing is, if you eat something sugary, if you hydrate well after that, the body will pass that. If you let it sleep with you, the body stores your fat at night, especially at night. The body has 3 sources of energy: carbohydrates, fats, protein. Okay? Its first choice is carbohydrate. The body will store up to 4 days of carbohydrates in your body, and it'll store for every ounce of carbohydrate, it'll store 4 ounces of water. That's why when you work out, what happens? You sweat. You release all this sweat because you're using all those carbohydrates, which then release that water that it's holding on to. And the body needs it, of course, to move out all of the waste product that is generated from you using that energy.
Mhm.
So now, okay, so when I go on a diet, what happens? Okay, well, there's many different kinds of ways, but at the end of the day, for us to lose weight, you need to create a caloric deficit of some way. You can intermittent fast. You can do a keto-like approach where you eliminate carbs. Because what happens when I do keto? Okay, well, the first 3 days, you're using up the carbs you've stored. But then you go into what's called ketosis. Then the body switches over to fat being the source of energy versus carbohydrates. Now, the interesting thing about fat, and this is called the thermogenic effect of food. That's a big word, but it really means the body is really efficient in some ways. Now, if you're going to take carbohydrates and use them as your primary source of energy, what happens? Your body uses about 10% of that food to burn those carbohydrates. Okay. Meanwhile, if you eat fat, right, the body uses 1 to 3% of that calories in the fat to metabolize the fat. That's why you can smell fat and it'll go on your body. Now, if you combine a high carbohydrate meal with a bunch of fat, body goes, thanks for the carbs. I'm just storing that fat because I'll need it later. Because human beings grew up as a species in an environment where one day we got a lot to eat, and then the next day nothing was around to eat. And then the next day was some stuff, but next day nothing again. So the body was trained and is trained to very carefully hold on to what it needs to sustain itself during those periods. So when we go into a weight loss program where we want to really get somewhere, ultimately we have to reach a point where our body is using the stores of fat that it has. And again, you can use it. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but at the end of the day, you're doing the same thing. You've got to get a hold of that fat and use it instead of the carbohydrates that the body really does like to use.
Absolutely. One of the things that people ask all the time, and as I mentioned, I've tried it, failed so many times. There's so many different ways to approach this. The beautiful thing, and also I guess you could say that the complicated thing about the Tackle Obesity mission is that there are so many different ways to tackle obesity. Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about some of the different methods to tackle obesity, because it's not a one size fits all approach. There are meal replacements, which I did. There are some people who just go to a low fat diet. There's some people who need medical options. There are a number of different ways to approach this. So I want to talk to you about so what are some of the different ways that people can approach their weight loss, and at what point should they consider switching to a different option if it's not working for them?
Well, interestingly, when you are in a program, whatever, and let's just use a meal replacement program to start. Okay, what is a meal replacement program? That's where you set a caloric threshold that you're going to stay under each day, right? And then you space out the food during the day so that you can get through the day and not go above that caloric threshold and still stay sane. It's not fasting. And if you do it right, you're timing those meal replacements in such a way as that the body is able to use them and get you to the next time that you can eat, right? And so it's a very effective way. And a lot of doctors use that with their patients. Now, what happens now is you have these GLP-1 or semaglutide medications that people can use, and you can use that. But if you start losing weight and you don't increase your activity level, you will plateau. So what happens? People reach a point where they go, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, but you haven't increased your activity. So one of our experts, and she's really an amazing person, Dr. Holly Lofton, she has the patients that she works with, she has them increase as they lose weight, their activity, because the body becomes more efficient. You have more muscle, you have less fat, you're able to but all of a sudden it becomes more efficient. So you'll hit a flat. Now you got to ramp the activity. So one of the things, Richard, is, okay, if I've hit a plateau, am I going to increase my activity level to then spark some continued weight loss? Otherwise, you need to consider other methods, because at the end of the day, not everybody can do the workouts. Not everybody is motivated that way. I did the numbers. About 15 to 20% of Americans have a gym membership, but about 5% of Americans use that. Okay.
Oof.
So it's, you cannot buy wellness. You have to invest.
Right.
You can get it, and it is an investment, and it isn't just necessarily money, because a really healthy diet, it's not always so easy, because in the inner city, I'll give an good example where stores are easy to get to. They fill those stores with sugary items.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the stuff that is really healthy is pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that, I think needs to happen is we need to encourage, actually, the EBT cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm advocating that we for people who are buying vegetables from a local grocer, a local farmer, or meat or fruit, their dollar doubles, because then the local farmer gets paid twice as much, the local grower.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, I'm getting a great deal for my dollar. Now, people love a great deal for their dollar.
Right.
I was a student at UC Berkeley, and this is 100 years ago in 1973. And I kind of went on my spiritual quest, and I started a food bank in East Oakland, which I did for 7 years. And I ran that program for 7 years. And it was so great. It was such an awesome experience. We gave away millions of pounds of food, and it was always free when I was doing it. So when I left, the fellow who took over from me, Jeff, he said, well, we got to support this. So we're going to charge 10 cents a pound, no more, but 10 cents a pound. Now, when I ran it, the way you got food was you volunteered. So, but not everybody was willing to do that and spend the time. So, but people knew a good bargain. So I can get good, healthy food for 10 cents a pound. I'm going to get it. So in the same way, if we can use programs that are already in place, and this is kind of a little bit off the target, but anyway, I want to get on the record.
Mm-hmm.
If we can do something like this, where your EBT card has twice the value if you're buying from a local farmer or grower, and then if you do it in the supermarkets aren't going to really like it. But the reality is it's going to be a limited amount of competition that the local guys are able to really create. But the power of the dollar is the power of I always call money like gravity. You just can't escape it, and if I can get twice as much for what I'm spending, and the reality is locally grown food isn't always the least expensive, because it's hard to do it. And it's, and you don't have big farms and all the ability to scale. So it's one of the things that I'd love to see and be part of. The other is, people are now waking up to, I can't believe how much people are waking up to the whole thing about ultra processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, whenever you go into this whole, weightless wellness journey, wellness lifestyle, they tell you shop the edges of the grocery store, because that's where all the fruits and vegetables are. That's where the meats are and the dairy. And then, stay out of the middle, where all the highly processed foods are.
Mm-hmm.
Not always that way, because they put the bakeries there. They put, these grocers.
Oh, they know how to mix it in now.
Yeah, they'll trip you up, right? So just like so my wife and I shop together, and it's not always the moment of perfect harmony, right? Because we're holding each other accountable for what we're buying. So one of the things that people can do is shop with their accountability coach. That way, what's coming in the house is what should be coming in the house. And then, and then you can support each other, encourage each other, and inspire each other,
You kind of stole my thunder for my next question, because one of the things that is a huge inhibitor is when you have distractions within the household. If you're on a wellness journey, now I'm not saying that everyone in the house has to be on a meal plan, but you can't be introduced to things that are unhealthy when you're trying to stay focused on a wellness journey. And it's a very difficult conversation to have with your loved ones. One of the things that we have as a habit in this country is that we celebrate with food. Think about all of the occasions: weddings, birthdays, graduations, holidays, family visits. We do what? We eat.
And drink.
We make big meals.
And drink.
And drink. Right.
Which alcohol, you can, in moderation, you it's up to you, but alcohol is full of one thing: carbohydrates. So now you're drinking your nice wine or whatever, and then you're chowing down on some food that has got a lot of high fat.
Mm-hmm.
Those two to go together. So the body is saying, "Oh, thanks for all the carbohydrates," which is what the alcohol is made of, and and the potatoes. But then let's put some gravy on it, all that stuff. So you self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things you can learn how to do is you can portion control, because this is the thing. Actually, Kevin kind of alluded to it on his little segment. The Foodie Stay Fit, Kevin Val.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you can have an Oreo or something like that, and you're not going to throw yourself off. Well, if it's one Oreo, it's one thing. If it's Oreos, it's another
Oreos.
thing. So, and that's the thing, is that if you have the ability to eat one and one and done, well, that's one thing. But most people, one and done is not get it. And having their spouse or the other people in the house support them and it's hard to say, guys, I'm dealing with this. I need your support. Well, they're chowing down on whatever they're chowing down on, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's one of these things where we all have to get aware of it. It isn't just the individual who's dealing with it. And so, the other thing is Richard, is people express love with food, giving someone food. Yep. Oh, I cooked this for you. It's so beautiful. I know it's your favorite dish. And what are you going to say? No, it's not on my diet. You can't say that. She's done it or he's done it or whatever. And all of a sudden you don't want to reject their love, because that's a love offering. Mm-hmm. So the challenge again is for education. And that's where what we're doing, the Huddle, is all about educating the public about techniques and really habitual behavior. And Richard, you just pointed out one huge one. When your partner is expressing their love through food that is not healthy, that is self-defeating, and it's a form of sabotage, because you've got this horrible decision: do I reject the offering and their love, or do I simply eat it? And then I've lost 3 days in my progress here. Right. I tried for many years a keto diet, very unsuccessful, a big yo-yo diet for me, because I would get enormous cravings. The one thing I would say is that I've learned that when you eat protein, back to the thermogenic effect of food, right? Protein, when you eat protein, okay, 30% of the energy in the food you're eating is used up in eating that protein. So now that's interesting. So if I use a small amount of protein, it's even a lesser amount of calories than what I ate, because fundamentally the body doesn't want to eat protein. Your muscles are made out of protein. It's like the last food source your body wants to go through. So when you go through a starvation process, the first 3 to 4 days, you're going through all the carbs. You're done. Then you go into your fat. Then your body flips into a ketosis and it uses fat. And then meanwhile, at the end of that road is your body starts eating its muscle. And so the thing you need to realize is, if I carefully use protein in my diet, doesn't have to be meat, but it can be, and I'm a meat eater, I don't have a problem with it. You can actually it's a good cheat, if you will. You can have a little more, because it's protein and you have to eat it. But if you combine fats with it, a lot of carbohydrates in it. So great, I got a nice little piece of steak here, but if I put my potatoes and my gravy on it, that little piece of steak didn't even matter.
Right.
Whereas if I eat steamed vegetables and I have my miracle noodles and a little sauce on it, whatever. So that's the kind of learning you have to do to be able to trick the body and keep the body you train to maintain. And that's a big part of what we really try to offer people is training and maintain. Because there's 100 different ways to lose weight. All of them have their good sides and bad sides. You know, now with these new medications, you have people losing weight that literally struggled for their entire lives.
Right.
We're able to, but it's not all, you know, roses, you know, peaches, you know, whatever. There are, you know, a lot of people don't feel well when they're on it or have trouble going to the bathroom or this sort of thing. But those drugs treat the brain. They treat the brain process along with the digestion process and the way your body metabolizes food. So it's a multi-pronged attack. Well, you can do the same thing if you build an offense with all the right ingredients.
Right.
So as you go through a wellness program that allows you to lose weight, you want to establish a team that is part of your living habitual behavior going forward.
Absolutely. And this is one of the things that Coach Wheeler pointed out for the guys that tuned into the show when she was on here. You know, she and her husband, Quentin, you know, they had the bypass surgery. But in addition to that, you know, it's more than just a surgery because people fail with the bypass surgery. Absolutely. You have to change the way that you eat in order for it to be successful. So that was a journey. She talked about the fact that when she started her journey first and Quentin wasn't bought in, so she's trying to eat healthy. She's eating the salad and he's coming in with burgers and fries and, hey, here, try some of this. And, you know, so that was a battle. Me personally, I experienced, you know, somewhat of a battle. You know, I'm putting my wife on blast here. You know, it's not as though she was being manipulative. It's that sometimes you forget about your loved one's journey. And so, you know, she likes to go out. She likes to, you know, and she's new to the city. You know, she moved here to be with me in Houston. And so she's trying to like get her feet under her as a Houstonian and trying to get out and do things. And like, I'm trying to avoid going out as much because I know when I go out, I eat. So I'm being a homebody and she's being, you know, trying to get out more. So there was a bit of that, you know, back and forth. But, you know, I'm happy to say not only has she bought in, you know, and we can show her picture here. She's lost 50 pounds as well on her journey. So this is what it's like when you have that teamwork approach where, you know, there have been days where, you know, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go get me a burger. And she's like, no, you're not. And, you know, there's been days that I've held her accountable. So having that support system, especially within the house, is critical. Yeah, it's really critical. And it's an uncomfortable conversation, but it needs to be had because at the end of the day, when you understand why, it motivates you to get through those tough times and those rough times. And, you know, ultimately, I want to do this because I want to be here longer for her and vice versa. Yeah. So please, by all means, you know, definitely have the conversations with your partner and deputize your partner to be your accountability coach because that's going to be critical in order for you to, you know, be successful in your journey.
It's a delicate balance in a relationship. It's not easily accomplished, but it's critical. It really is critical because otherwise you're constantly faced with choices that are kind of overwhelming. And you don't want to put it on the other person that you're the reason I'm not succeeding in this. But at the same time, if they do help you, you're the wind beneath my wings. You're making it happen. And, you know, in my case, Kay watched me lose my weight. And it wasn't until she had this aha moment after she had her brain surgery. And then she looked at the mirror and went, I'm obese. Like, duh, you know, but I could never say to her, darling, what happened? Right. Because even after it, and I watched this one Megyn Kelly show, and she had a young woman that had lost 235 pounds on a meal replacement program. And her her mother saw her lose all that weight. Her mother was clearly needed to address the issue herself, right? It didn't dawn on her till her daughter had lost all of that weight that it was something she should do. And it was like, I mean, so part of it is when you're with somebody all the time, it doesn't strike you. When you see somebody, Richard, who knew you when you were 425 plus pounds, and now they go, what happened? Right? you disappeared, man. But and again, your spirit, is so much brighter. I mean, it's like that's the thing about getting control in this area of your life. You're more optimistic in your mindset because now this demon that's been tracking you for all these years. God, I every New Year's I always wrote, I'm going to be 180 pounds and this, and it just never got control until I had a doctor reach out to me over LinkedIn and said, "Hey, you want to try this?" I thought, dude, you own a wellness company. You better get her to control of this. So he coached me. It worked, and it was simple, but it was a challenge. And again, during that period, Kate wasn't on it. She, I went through my whole weight loss program, and then it wasn't. So everybody has to get the tumor in their brain out, if you know what I'm saying. So you can't do that to somebody. You can set a great example, and they can actually be a tremendous support to you. But at the end of the day, everybody has to have their own time to where they reconcile with it and they deal with it. Richard, in that green room, you made up your mind, but you made up your mind because you really love Winnie. I'm sorry, you love her, your wife, and it was a motivator for you to set that goal to be able to achieve, and you've done it. And now this is actually a part of everything you're doing, which is so exciting.
Absolutely. To use another football analogy, one of the things that, as fans, we're all in tune with stats. And I think the same is true with wellness, but unfortunately, we don't have enough detail as it pertains to stats. The one stat that everyone focuses on is the W word. It's the weight.
Yeah.
But there are other measurables that are key performance indicators as it pertains to your wellness. So talk to us.
Much more important is your percent body fat. Because if you're muscular, you will quote unquote be obese on the BMI scale, and you're not. And there are people that are skinny fat, which means they're actually skinny, but they actually have a lot of fat, which is like, wait a minute, what's that? But that's the reality. So we like to use percent body fat. If you're going to focus on a single KPI. Now, the reality is you got blood pressure, you got all these other lipid levels and all so on that can be part of the things you measure. And particularly A1C. People don't realize that they can cure type 2 diabetes by getting control of their weight. Cure it. Never have to deal with it. Your friend that you mentioned cured it. He got rid of it. And diabetes is a train wreck for your body.
It is.
It really is. And to be on those medications and to be in that situation is not easy. So we're getting close, Richard. You're going to do a wrap up here.
Absolutely. But to kind of just touch on that, here's food for thought. If you go based upon BMI only, I think everyone knows Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock. If you base upon BMI only, he's morbidly obese. I think it's pretty fair to say that that's not the case.
Yeah,
that's not the case. Well, it is always and will continue to be a pleasure working with you, Russ. Our partnership, literally added quality years to my life, and there's no way.
We want to thank the NFL alumni and Novo Nordisk for it.
Yeah, my twin Russ. You showed a picture, Kathleen. My twin Russ. So, people confuse us all the time. We're very images of each other. But I do want to thank everyone for joining us today. Continue to follow us. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to us on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart. We're even on Alexa. So if you got Alexa at home, just say, Alexa, play Tackle Obesity. Alexa will play Tackle Obesity for you. Visit the website. Tune into one of our radio shows, KCAA 102.5, 106.5, the station that leaves no listener behind, Southern Cal. 1580 The Fanatic in Phoenix, and WCKG in Chicago. We're everywhere. But at the end of the day, our mission is to tackle obesity. We need more teammates. Like, share, subscribe. We need more members of the tribe. Again, thank you to my teammate, Russ Allen. Thank you to all of you. We hope that you have another happy, healthy weekend. Tackle obesity, and let's go do it. Thanks again. We'll see you later.
Over and out.